Welcome, everyone. The first bill this morning will be Senate Bill 24. And Senator Fenton will introduce it for Senator Waters.
Madam Chair and ladies and gentlemen of the committee, I am Senator Donovan Fenton. I represent Senate District 10, and I'm here to introduce Senate Bill 24, which is relative to the conferring degree granting authority to the New England Aeronautical Institute. And if you have any questions, don't ask me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do the committee members have any questions on this particular bill? No? Okay. It has the support of Senator Perkins Coker and obviously David Waters. Ms. Fenton from the DOE, do you want to have anything to say on this? On the degree granting authority of the Aeronautical Institute?
Very rare. One sentence follows another.
I've never met another Fenton. Great name.
It is a great name. I approve of everything you do.
Spending a lot of time together.
The Department of Education. Thank you. For the record, my name is Diana Fenton, following Senator Fenton of no relation. I am an attorney with the Department of Education. The department doesn't have, I don't have any information about this particular institution. Any questions that this committee has, I'm happy to get those answers for you. We have gone through this process before with Signum University. If you look at the statute, the legislative body has to grant that degree granting authority. It is a legislative process, and then the department just simply reciprocates that and follows our rules to make sure that that institution follows our rules and is in compliance with our regulations.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody from the Aeronautical Institute here? The gentleman who just came in, do you have anything to do with it?
No.
Oh, okay,
Think so.
thank you. I think that should take care of it.
Thank you very much.
No questions? Good, okay. Well, that concludes the hearing on Senate Bill 24.
4 minutes. No,
What do you
4
want?
minutes. We're done.
Up to pass.
I don't know.
Well, we have some time before 9:15, so we can go into executive session if I have a motion.
Motion to go into executive session by Prentice, seconded by.
Okay,
Well, that's up to you.
so we'll go into executive session. Do I have a motion for Senate Bill 24?
Move to ought to pass. Move ought to pass.
Ought to
Second it.
pass by Senator Lang and
Second it.
second by Senator Fenton. We don't have Senator Gendro here, so we can't move to consent.
You want to, sorry, Madam Chair. You want, I think that Senator General should be here pretty quick. She's
Okay.
just introducing a bill, so maybe if we hold off exec, we can have unanimous and have it go on
Okay.
consent, so we don't have to deal with it on the
Right.
floor.
Do we
Let's
want to
hold.
Do we want to withdraw, just hold, or?
We have a few minutes.
So the proper motion would be to withdraw the motion and then wait for Senator Gendro to get here.
I will withdraw the motion and we'll wait for Senator Gendro.
Good.
Good with that? Okay, thank you. So we hold off, which means that you have 10 minutes before the next bill, unless Senator Gendro shows up.
Good. Yes, Cam.
Close executive session first. We're still technically in executive session, so we never closed.
I need a motion to close the executive session.
So moved. I'm sorry. Prentice, so moved.
Moved and seconded to close
Seconded.
the executive session. Let's move on to Senate Bill 39.
Vote.
Oh, all in favor of closing executive session?
Aye.
Good, excellent. As you probably have noticed here that we are at reduced committee. Not only that, but when Kerry Gendro comes down, we have 3 new legislators on this particular committee. So I'm going to testify on the next bill, and I have asked Senator Prentice to act as chair. So I will go forward.
Whew, I got the gavel. You're good. All right, we will open the public hearing. We'll open the public hearing on Senate Bill 25 and welcome Senator Ward to introduce her bill.
39.
Want to go to 39?
39.
I thought we're going out of order. All right.
If you look at it, 9:15.
All right, so we're going to do that again. Good morning, Senator Ward. We're opening the public hearing on Senate Bill 39 relative to criminal history checks for school board transportation monitors, and I'll turn it over to Senator Ward.
Thank you very much, Senator Prentice. I'm introducing this bill for Senator Gannon, who is the sponsor of the bill. This bill requires transportation monitors to undergo criminal background checks before being employed by public schools. And there are plenty of people behind me who can testify. Representative from DOE will be there, so.
Okay, great. Thank you, Senator Ward. And do we want to start off with either the Department of Education or we've got Diana Fenton has signed in, but I do see folks from DMV here who haven't signed in yet to testify. So Diana, do you want to go first? And then I'm going to be turning the gavel back over for the short-lived period of time to my esteemed colleague, Senator Ward.
Thank you, Ms. Fenton.
Good morning. Once again, for the record, my name is Diana Fenton. I'm an attorney with the Department of Education. I want to thank the sponsors of this bill. This bill was brought forward at the request of the Department of Education, and it is being supported by the Department of Motor Vehicles, who are here behind me and who will also speak. The bill before you is designed to address what the Department of Education perceives to be a gap in child safety issues in a statute that was passed in 2020. In order to fully explain the issue, I am going to ask this committee's indulgence as I give you a brief history of the criminal history background check and the work that the department has done in conjunction with this legislative body. Over the past few years, the department has worked with this legislature to improve our process as it pertains to child safety. Prior to the department's involvement, the criminal history background check was exclusively a function of employment, and you will find that in RSA 189-13-A. Under that statute, when a person applied for a position at a school district, they underwent a criminal history background check, which was a federal and a state check. And the district would check for a list of disqualifying offenses, which are set out in that statute in Section 5. They are commonly referred to as the Section 5 violations, and you have them printed out on this handout in front of you. These offenses would prohibit someone from working in the world of education statewide. They were disqualifiers, there was no discretion with them, and they were applicable all over the state. But the school districts also have discretion to look beyond just these offenses. They can take the entire criminal record into account when assessing an applicant for employment in their district. However, the department recognized a few years back that in terms of issuing a license to teach, that came with responsibility to ensure child safety as well. It shouldn't just fall on the school districts to ensure child safety. The department had an active role in that as well, and an obligation. So over the past 7 years, the department has come before the legislature and explained that the department wanted to work with the school districts and work with the legislature to also play a role in child safety. And so the department was granted legislative authority to conduct criminal history checks on first-time teacher applicants when issuing that license to teach. But it's important to recognize the department's criminal history check is limited only to those Section 5 violations, that list of disqualifiers that you have before you. The department does not have any discretion like a school district does. We are limited only to that list that's in front of you. In essence, what has been created is a two-tiered system. The department is the floor of protection, only looking for these offenses. The department doesn't want to license someone who is unemployable. That doesn't help the field and it doesn't help the department. The districts can then decide if that person is a good fit for their respective district. A great example of this is the offense of driving while impaired, DWI. Everyone's probably very familiar with that acronym. The Department of Education, that offense is not a Section 5 violation, so the department would license someone who has that offense on their criminal record, but the district might look at that individual and say, not a good fit for our particular district. Right? So it's a two-tiered system. The department is the floor of protection, not licensing someone who is unemployable. Districts can be more protective, but not less. So that's the system that's been established over the past 7 years. I'm going to pivot just a bit to talk about, in 2020, there was a need to address the bus driver shortage. So bus drivers could have more, and pun intended, more mobility in going and working throughout the state. So if Groveton High School had a field trip and they were short bus drivers, they could call Keene High School and say, can you lend us some bus drivers for this field trip, and not have Groveton High School go through that background check and that employment issue. And so RSA 189.13b, and the way I remember it is B is for bus driver. Right, so 189.13a deals with employment and 189.13b deals with bus drivers. This was an exception for bus drivers and transportation monitors. Those two groups were called out of the employment section, and you'll see that in this bill on line 17. It starts on line 15. Where it says the employing SAU, school district, or chartered public school shall be responsible for completing the criminal history records checks on the people identified in this paragraph, except for school bus drivers and transportation monitors. They were called out and put exclusively in 189.13b. So a school district can no longer run a history check on those two groups of individuals. The Department of Safety is not allowed to distribute the background check to those two school districts for those two individuals. So they were put in 189.13b, and the idea became that the Department of Motor Vehicles would do their background check pursuant to their rules when they license a school bus driver. And then the Department of Education would look once again for these very narrowly tailored Section 5 violations. Once again, a two-tiered system of protection. However, in passing that bill in 2020, neither organization realized that the Department of Motor Vehicles doesn't oversee transportation monitors. Transportation monitors aren't licensed to drive a bus. They simply fall outside of the Department of Motor Vehicles. And so now we have this group of people, transportation monitors, who have a lot of one-on-one access with children, only having this one narrowly tailored screen. And I'm not saying it's not protective, it is, but they're falling outside of that two-tiered realm of protection that we have created. And so the department wanted to bring what we believe to be a gap in child safety to this legislative body and ask that transportation monitors be screened by the districts. keeping in mind that districts have more discretion. I'm happy to take any questions, and I appreciate your time and your indulgence as I laid out the system.
Do we have any questions from the committee members? Any? I guess no questions.
Thank you. I did receive an email from the transportation lobby, and they have some concerns. The department doesn't want to impact anyone's ability to move from district to district. We recognize the need for that law that was passed in 2020. We are willing to work with the transportation lobby to find a compromise or an amendment that would still be able to effectuate both purposes, the child safety issues and making sure transportation monitors can have as much mobility as bus drivers. But in putting the statute into play, working countless hours with the Department of Motor Vehicles, and I thank them for their time and patience with working with the Department of Ed, we recognized this shortfall, that transportation monitors are not governed by DMV. You can see a lot of green behind me. As a former prosecutor, they seem to follow me everywhere I go. I don't know what that's all about, but they are here to answer any questions you may have as it pertains to their role in the bus driver process. I thank you once again for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any one of the people in green who would like to speak?
We can speak to, we were here to support the supportive role if you had any questions about the process specifically. So that if you do have questions, we'd be more than happy to answer them. However, she was able to pretty much lay out.
Okay. Any questions at all? Okay.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Can I ask Ms. Fenton one question? Can I ask Ms. Fenton one question? Sorry about that. So as I read this, the reason for was, again, strictly to deal with mobility, to be able to allow bus drivers to move from district to district if needed without another background check by another district? Is that?
That's correct. So it took it out of the employment realm. And it kind of made it a statewide clearance. That's what the Department of Education issues pursuant to 18913B. The idea being, again, if Groveton High School suddenly found themselves needing a bus driver for a one-time event or what have you, they could call another district, SAU 39, for example, and say, hey, can I use your bus driver? And Groveton High School wouldn't have to go through that process of running that additional check.
Follow-up?
Follow-up?
So, and again, this would also apply just simple employment for, I'm going to use Franklin and Winnisquam because they're within 2 miles of each other, right? So if they needed to share bus drivers or based on their schedule, they'd be able to move people around for athletic reasons or school trips or whatever else. They'd be able to share bus drivers in between, given this change. And is that the
That was my-
purpose of 13B?
That was my understanding of the need for that new law that was created in 2020. We recognized as a state there was a bus driver shortage, and we also recognized that there is just that. And again, I don't mean to keep using this word mobility when it comes to bus drivers, but there was a need for mobility. It's an organization and a group that has to work statewide, and it is most effective when it does work statewide. And that was the reason for the creation of 18913B, also recognizing that 2 entities would now have oversight: the Department of Motor Vehicles for purposes of licensing them to drive a bus, and the Department of Education for that child safety piece.
One last thing, if I may.
Follow-up?
Transportation monitor. Is this the person that stands outside the bus, make sure all the kids get on the bus? What is the transportation monitor exactly?
I'm probably not the best person to answer that question, but I can tell you my understanding. It is the person who is actively on the bus, regulating the kids, watching for behavior. It is that role, that one-on-one contact with children, that concerns the Department of Education, and that child safety piece of it. I'm sure if the transportation lobby was here, they could give you a much more articulate answer as to what that person does. It is a very important role. And again, we don't want to take away from the ability of that particular group to move around the state. We recognize the importance of that, but we also recognize the importance of making sure those individuals are properly background checked.
Is that,
I guess one more. Could it be handled between a memorandum of understanding between districts? If you have transportation monitors and said that because you're only checking for the Section 5 violations for school, so a simple memorandum of understanding between two school districts saying all of our transportation monitors have undergone a Section 5 review and done. Now I can trade transportation monitors because they've met all the requirements.
I think in theory, an MOU could handle that situation. I know that in my past career, there were a lot of MOUs between neighboring police departments. I think my hesitation in applying an MOU to this situation is that school districts have more discretion when it comes to employment, above and beyond the disqualifiers that are listed here. And there's a reason for that discretion. It's because if something happens, the liability falls on the school district. I think in an MOU, my concern would be people relying on what we would call a stale record of saying, well, I checked this individual, 10 years ago and they're great and they're fine. Those would be some of the concerns. I'm not saying it couldn't be addressed that way, but those are just some of the issues that are popping in my head. I also think the reality is with bus drivers and transportation monitors, there is sometimes just that immediate need. We need a driver for this field trip, and we don't necessarily have an MOU with the district that could provide it.
is that,
I'm good.
I, did you, Senator Prentice?
Oh, thank you, Senator Ward. Good to see you again, Ms. Fenton. So can you just take me back to you said the transportation industry has a concern about this?
What I can share with you, I'm not here to speak on their behalf,
Okay.
obviously, but what I want to share with you in complete transparency is that they sent me an email over the weekend concerned about this bill, concerned that it would undercut the law that was passed in 2020, which was 18913B. The department in no way, shape, or form wants to take away any of the good work that was done or the reason for the work that was done in 2020. We are, however, again, I will reiterate, concerned about that small group of individuals, those transportation monitors that are not overseen by DMV. And the reality is when the law was passed in 2020, the assumption was that the Department of Motor Vehicles had oversight of transportation monitors. And we were sitting in the Department of Motor Vehicle conference room with all the people you see behind me, and I don't even know who's behind me now. But we were all there, and we suddenly, the director said, we don't have oversight of transportation monitors. We don't understand why it was created and passed this way. And it was a eureka moment where we all realized, oh my gosh, we had made an assumption, and now we're recognizing for this small group of individuals, transportation monitors, it's not an accurate assumption. And we need to go back and look very carefully at this and see if there is a child safety gap. The Department of Education feels that there is.
Thank you.
All set?
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
Senator
much.
Ward. Yep.
Okay, I have a question. So you just said that the different SAUs might have different regulations for who they will hire.
Yes.
Is there a central clearinghouse where you could actually find out before you call District 35 or whatever, are there monitors, have they undergone the full background check?
I think the only central clearinghouse would be the Department of Education for that Section 5 violations only. If you look at 18913A, in Section 5, it says very clearly that each district can create their own policy to account for the entire record, whatever that might be. And school or superintendents have an enormous amount of discretion to exercise what they think is appropriate in their districts. And that has been working, and that's a very important tool for school districts.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
I thank you once again for your time.
Okay, I have Senator David Waters. supports and supports this bill. Anybody else in the audience who likes to speak? Please come up, state your name.
Good morning. I'm Becky Wilson, Director of Governmental Relations for the New Hampshire School Boards Association. I was not going to speak to this bill. However, as a previous special education director, prior to taking this position, I wanted to see if I could help answer Senator Lang's questions about the roles of the transportation monitor, if that was okay.
Certainly.
So there are many forms of transportation monitors that are employed by school districts. Some are as Senator Fenton, I almost said, I'm so sorry. Welcome back. As Diana previously said, monitoring full school buses for regular routes that would go to and from school with many children. However, there's a large group of transportation monitors who are employed to ride buses with students who are going to out-of-district placements as part of an IEP placement, potentially. Some of these students are nonverbal, use alternative communication. They may be in a van with just the driver and the transportation monitor. So there are lots of different roles that transportation monitors take, and depending on the role of each particular person, the skills that are needed and the training, for example, to work with students with different diverse needs might affect what type of skills you would be looking for in an employee under that kind of contract at the school district level.
Did I answer your question? Okay,
Yes,
good.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Yes.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is John Marasco. I'm the Director of the Division of Motor Vehicles. And Attorney Fenton covered everything that we've talked about. That was a wonderful presentation. I just would want to submit to the committee that from the Division of Motor Vehicles standpoint, we fully support the bill. And the reason we do is through those conversations, as Attorney Fenton spoke about, there is a two-tiered system that's available for teachers, school bus drivers, but safety monitors, because they're not behind the wheel of a vehicle, don't fall under the purview of the DMV. And what we wouldn't want is confusion there for people to believe that there is a two-tiered system and that the state police and the DMV are doing that more micro check beyond Section 5, because we're not. And so Attorney Fenton and DOE's bill allows for that two-tiered system to apply to safety monitors, and therefore we fully support it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? That concludes the hearing on Senate Bill 39. Now we'll move on to Senate Bill 25. And again, I will present that bill and I will give the gavel to Senator Prentice. Good morning, Madam Chair and the
Oh, hold on a
Senate
second.
Education Committee.
I'm going to call to order the public hearing for Senate Bill 25 and welcome Senator Ward to present her bill.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and committee members. This is a very short, another one. A lot of times when things need to be cleaned up and clarified, and this is one of the bills. This bill repeals the Department of Education reporting requirement on payments made in a fiscal year to a chartered public school. That is the bill. And I'll take questions from the committee members.
I have a
don't think you
question.
have any.
I do. Can you, did this be for you or for Caitlin Davis? Why are we repealing this?
Caitlin
provision?
Davis will speak to it.
Thank you, Senator Ward. Perfect.
Absolutely, she will.
All right. Absolutely, she will. And as Senator Ward makes her way back to retake the gavel, we'll invite up Caitlin Davis. Over. Thank you, Senator Ward.
Good morning.
Good
Welcome.
morning. For the record, I'm Caitlin Davis. I'm a director at the Department of Education. We asked Senator Ward to sponsor this bill on behalf of the Department of Education to repeal this report because this report is in law from a different time as far as charter school funding is concerned. Previously, the Department of Education made charter school payments, and that dollar amount for charter school payments was appropriated. And if we didn't have enough funding, we needed to go to fiscal to ask for the additional funding for charter schools. Charter school payments are paid in the same methodology as traditional adequacy to traditional public schools, and therefore, in about 2000 and I think 17 or 18, the law was changed so that the Department of Education could draw a warrant for any additional funding needed to pay charter schools for their charter school adequacy, no longer needing to go to fiscal to request those additional dollar amounts, and therefore this report is not needed. The Department of Education has complied with this law and done this report every year, at least since 2018. In the November Fiscal Committee meeting, and we have never once been asked a question about the report. It takes about between the staff preparing of the report, the fiscal process and whatnot, probably about 15 hours of staff time that just it seems like it could be used for a better purpose than preparing a report. I just want to point out too, this information, charter school payment information, is available at the Department of Education website. Enrollments are reported on October 1st of every year, or reported to the Department of Education on October 1st, published shortly thereafter. So all of this information is available at any given time from the department staff and on the Department of Education website.
Senator Ward.
Senator Prentice.
So Caitlin, just for the repeating the obvious here, so the public can find out exactly what is going to the charter schools on the website as published on October 1st, and this requirement for a report is now outdated, but the information is still available.
Yes.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee members? Thank you.
Thank you for introducing this bill.
Anybody else in the audience who likes to speak on this bill or add anything? Seeing none, that concludes the hearing on SB 25. Now,
Start up bill number 1 and go executive.
we can go into executive session.
Madam
Go
Chair, I
ahead.
move we go into executive session on Senate Bill 24.
Right.
Move
Do I
to
have
go
a
into
second?
executive session.
I'll second it.
A second, okay. Should we start with 24?
Madam Chair, I move OTP on Senate Bill 24.
That's ought to pass 5-0. Do I have a consent?
You need to vote first.
That's voting. If you say yes, it's voting. All those in favor of OTP on 24?
Aye.
Aye. That's now 5-0 for O to pass. Do I have a motion for putting it on consent?
Motion for
Senator
consent.
Prentice? Consent? All in favor? Any discussion? All those in favor of putting it on consent?
Aye.
And who wants to take it out? All right, you got it. Senator Fenton will take it out. Okay.
Madam Chair, I move auto pass on Senate Bill 25.
I'll second that. Yeah, because there's a public. There's a public comment.
Any discussion? All those in favor of ought to pass on the Senate Bill 25?
Aye. Madam
That's
Chair, I move it be put on consent.
5-0. I have to have time to write it down.
I just want you to make your 10 o'clock meeting. That's all.
And second on consent?
Prentice.
Prentice? Yep. All those in favor of putting this on consent?
Aye.
That's 5-0. And who wants to take it out?
I'll take it out.
Prentice will take it out.
Madam Chair, I move auto pass on Senate Bill 39 FN.
Do we have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor of to pass on Senate Bill 39 FN?
Aye.
Aye. That's
Madam Chair, I move it be put on consent.
second on consent. All those in favor of consent?
Aye.
That's 5-0. And who wants to take it out?
I'll take it out, Madam Chair.
Senator Lang will take it out. Yes. I have a motion to come out of executive session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Hearing is concluded.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All right, so Senator Simon, I will email you your photo.
So if you're gonna talk,
Yeah. That's so weird.
oh,